take a look at today's subject, which is all about what's new in data management. Okay, so let's get to the subject of today, which is data management. We're going to look at three different things here: SOLIDWORKS PDM, SOLIDWORKS Manage, and also cloud services. Let's go ahead and start with SOLIDWORKS PDM. So there's a number of really nice things in PDM, mostly, and I'm going to show user stuff. So things like the Command Manager tab, being able to work in the lightweight and LDR modes, being able to have more information more readily available as you work with PDM in different aspects of the software. And then there's some admin stuff I'll show in here as well. So let's go ahead and jump in right away. And I just want to show that, yeah, in the Command Manager now, we actually have a dedicated Command Manager tab available for PDM. So now you have all your PDM tools right there in the Command Manager tab. So a lot of people were asking for that. Also, when you're using the get version command, we now have more information available in that dialog, as well as you can do a checkout as you're getting things. So if there's things you're getting and you also want to check them out right away because you're going to work on them, you can do that in one shot. Taking a look at this subassembly here, we have a wire harness. I want to just kind of drill down into that. In 2025, we have a new option here to browse to a new window. So it'll open it up in its own window, so you have access to all that stuff right away, drilling down, including notice that the computed BOM order follows the order of the assembly tree. Okay, let's go ahead and add in some of these plastic covers into our assembly here. Turn those things on. Just check in to the assembly and make a little comment there. Notice that we're actually working in lightweight mode, and that's better supported in SOLIDWORKS PDM 2020. So you can do all your supported things like submit for approval, do your change states, things like that. When working in modes where you're not totally resolving the model, you get all the PDM functionality that you would expect in those modes. Also, you can now customize the quick access toolbar, any tools you want, and it's reorganized to show more tools at the same time. SOLIDWORKS last open time is now a system variable, so now it's available everywhere, including in the Windows Explorer interface here. And if you're using the complete search, you now have the option, like in other places, to change where the preview is listed. So instead of the bottom, a lot of people like it on the right side. It's a little more space efficient for the average 16:9 aspect ratio. So we can do that. And if I go ahead and preview this guy in here, you get that thumbnail preview. Now it's really easy to find the button where you click to load the full-on e-drawing preview in there. It's just really obvious now, that big bar at the top. Also, latest version information is now also a system variable. It's available everywhere in the user interface, including the version tab. And new this year, we also have the ability not just to get latest version, but to get any revision you want. So you can pull those different ones out anytime you need to. Okay, let's go ahead and do a search for the top level assembly here. And in the bill of materials, we have a new option called flatten. So it rolls up all your quantities across subassemblies and all the parts everywhere. So you get a nice roll up of the top at the top level of everything. And then when you're exporting a BOM from here, you now have an option to create thumbnails along the way as well. Just make it more clear as you do this. For the administrator, a couple of things we have I want to highlight here. One is we have now a log in and log out log kept in the system. So you can see when people have logged in, logged out. You can see where they've logged in from, like if it's a desktop client or Web 2, or if it's an API call or whatever. And also you can now create specific bill of material views, like the new flatten, for example, or top level only. And then you can create these and then deploy them to your users. So kind of drilling down a little bit further into some of this, we're supporting lightweight mode. So that also means that we support, back in 2020, we had the option to automatically optimize resolve mode, have that on there. So you're not even using lightweight mode, it's kind of automatically happening. That was something that I was really happy about in 2024, but I had to note that it was not supported in PDM. Well, now it is. Actually, it was back in FD01. Didn't take long for them to do that. Also, again, better SOLIDWORKS integration with LDR and detailing mode. We were talking graphics only for the model and the drawing. Again, this actually came out in FD02, but a lot of people, don't know about it. So yeah, we can, in LDR, when you're working with that in PDM, you can see the full tree structure. You're checking assemblies. You can, for drawings, detailing mode, you have an indicator that the drawing is in detailing mode, tree structures match, all those kind of things are buttoned up here, as well as now there's a system variable to just be available. So if you want to have a warning that people are checking in or changing state on something that's in LDR mode, it'll give you that option if you want to do that. And then also we now support SSL and TLS for our SMTP system. So again, like, your Yahoo Mail, your Gmail, your Office 365 email. We've also separated the add or rename permissions out for folder permissions and state permissions, and we also support categories there as well. The get log option now includes refreshing the cache during login, and then we've also upgraded our security to AES with 128-bit keys, which is kind of a standard now that we're supporting. And then for electrical fans, and if you attend the electrical session in 2 weeks, you'll see a lot more of this. But on the PDM side, we now have electrical in the admin tool, and there's a PDM admin for electrical as well. And so that's a bunch of new features. Of course, performance, it's never fast enough, and this is instant, right? So you can see that we've concentrated this release on check-in times and browsing folders in the Web2 interface. You can see how we have some significant, very, very noticeable improvements in those. Okay, so that's what's new in SOLIDWORKS PDM 2025. Now let's go ahead and look at some things that are also new in SOLIDWORKS Manage, which runs on top of PDM to give you a little more a PLM sort of tool there. We have some new login options, including two-factor. Again, they give company standards and security, things like that. When you're doing your capacity planning, you now have a lot more granularity. You can go the next 7 up to X number of months or weeks. The API information or set information in Manage, and then Project Gantt images. You have more complete product information in there, including admin control over a number of grid columns to include there. Snapshots, they're easy access to project information without having to run a report. And things that we also capture include things like Gantt charts, task deliverables, timesheets, and the resources. And then also we can now import from a SOLIDWORKS BOM and make a new project out of that. So we'll actually build a Gantt chart from that assembly, and then the end parts become stages, and sub-assemblies become summary stages. So it's kind of like presets that you're going to want to tweak it and change it, but it's a nice way to start populating it and very quickly creating a Gantt chart project out of basically an assembly structure. Also, we have more information when viewing things in flat view, so we can now display custom fields, and there'll be a mixed values thing. If multiple values for the same part number, you'll just say mixed, because it's like, well, there's not any one that's the same value there. And then also, it's easier to share information with external users, because now you can allow people, if you want to allow them to download files from a BOM share. Web-based, oops, going forward here. Okay, so that's some of what's new in SOLIDWORKS Manage. Now let's go ahead and talk about, instead of the SOLIDWORKS PDM Manage, sort of, your hosting or your cloud hosting, but using the PDM world. If you're not in the PDM world, but you want to do some data management, we have, again, cloud services, which is part of SOLIDWORKS. All new subscriptions, you can add to your old subscriptions for about $300 a year per person, so less than $1 a day. What are some new things in that? Well, one thing we've done is we've enabled something called Quick Tours. So you can click on a Quick Tour. It's inside SOLIDWORKS. That's the big thing here. And it runs you through, it brings up like our SOLIDWORKS example. We use a baseball bat in this case, but it runs you through an interactive tour of the cloud services 3D experience data management options in regular dialog boxes. It explains some of the terms, some of the options, and some of the controls there. So you can kind of run through this little quick tour, and you can, you'll check off that you've done it, just go back in there. And that's right in the welcome dialog, right on the Learn tab you see there. Another big thing we've done here is we did community conversations right inside of the SOLIDWORKS Cloud Services task pane here. So about a part like I'm doing right here, I'm not going into a web tool and doing it, I'm doing it right inside of SOLIDWORKS. I can share data, we can do screenshots. I can even share things like live markups and stuff like that and do all that right inside of SOLIDWORKS. So I'm inside of that interface, much handier when I'm actually working on a design here to take that input, look at it, and then also make comments afterwards, like when I made changes, hey, made the changes there. So it's much more natural for a SOLIDWORKS user to stay in the SOLIDWORKS user interface as opposed to switching to a web browser. Now, also, when someone has changed something and you're referencing it, we now have a banner up top saying, hey, one of the parts you're looking at here, or assemblies or whatever, has been updated. So now you know that. Of course, you have full control over when or if you decide to update that right from the Cloud Services UI there. So it's right on your fingertips, but we have that banner to alert you. It's a little more immediate to the user. Also, if you're using more advanced workflows in managing your data in cloud services where you're having multiple people approve things instead of just one person approving things, you can now go ahead and map those directly into your SOLIDWORKS title blocks. Before, we could only do the one person thing. Now coming up to SOLIDWORKS Connected, if you're using 3D Experience SOLIDWORKS, but your company is using PDM, you now can use those together. Before you couldn't do that, now you can. So if you wanna, you're using PDM, but you wanna take advantage of the deployment and licensing flexibility that SOLIDWORKS, 3D Experience SOLIDWORKS gives you, you can now mix those. So I'm using 3D Experience SOLIDWORKS or SOLIDWORKS Connected is the app, and then it's working fine with PDM. However, even though I'm using PDM, I still have the ability to use that platform-based share and markup tool that we introduced last year. So even though I'm using PDM, this is not in PDM. It doesn't require cloud services data management. It's its own thing. So because of that, you can use it wherever you're using desktop SOLIDWORKS or 3D Experience SOLIDWORKS, either way. From a web interface, when using cloud services here, one of my favorite things we've done here is we've added a content dropdown for your 3D draw, your 3D space, part supply, and so it's just always there on whatever pane you're using for your dashboards. Doesn't matter. It's all, the data is always available. Before, you'd have to go to a widget that had that stuff, and you didn't want to know every one of them. This just is way easier to me. So I love that your data is available on any tab in any dashboard you have. It's right in the drop down there. That's an excellent thing for me. Also, we've consolidated a little more too. If you're looking at information on an item in cloud services, we have the typical properties and sharing information, whatever. We also roll the history of it right inside there too. So again, before you would go to a separate place to look at the history of a part, now it's just right, it's available right in the regular information dialog as its own tab. So just again, making it more discoverable, more easy looking at people's workflows, and making those UI enhancements to make it easier for everybody. Now, we also have other things you can add on top of the cloud services. If you want to, for example, do product planning right inside of cloud services, you can do that. There is an offer for PLM standard that allows you to essentially do a product planning right inside of your browser, but we're using the people, the resources, and the data, like your parts, assemblies, and drawing, right in there as part of what you're doing in the product planning. Also, we have a product release engineer role here, which is part of this, so that allows you to, as a non-SOLIDWORKS user, go in and establish your product timelines, to update maturity states, to leverage the 3D visualization as you're doing these things, but you're never going into SOLIDWORKS. So this would extends cloud services. These are things that are available to you to add on top of cloud services to make them a little more robust and capable. Now in a 3D product architect and change manager available also additionally in the kind of professional level, you have key capabilities like being able to allow people to mock up. You take your 3D models and they can actually make their own, stick them together in 3D space, and they can kind of cobble together a new product structure, for example, and they can also make their new designs, and they kind of stick them together, position them. It's just orientation and placement, but it allows someone to say, hey, I'm thinking about this as a new product, and they can do that right inside of the web browser with your SOLIDWORKS data. Not changing your SOLIDWORKS models at all, it's just using that. So again, gives non-CAD users some of those abilities without having to learn or have a seat of SOLIDWORKS. And then even beyond all that, if you have somebody who's really there to, their main job is to manage your supply chain, work with your suppliers, pricing, sourcing, doing all that kind of thing in your company, they can actually use what's in cloud services. Again, these are additional tools that you can get an add-on with, but this allows people to do classifications, to manage their supply chain, the network, the items, and they can also then, beyond all that, as they build this and maintain it inside of here, you can actually also send this out to external systems with ERP systems, so that, again, we're talking about someone who's able to do this kind of thing without touching SOLIDWORKS, but also leveraging the information, that both 3D and non-3D meta information in there. So those are some availabilities. Again, cloud services, your basic check in, check out, version, revision control for your SOLIDWORKS data and some other things, other kinds of data. But then beyond that, there are, just to expose everybody, there are other roles and other capabilities that can be added onto that for different people depending on what they do at your company.